What's going on, guys? 5 o'clock podcast on, guess we call it Black Monday, Blood Monday. American Steel, or U.S. Steel, is about to release earnings. They make a lot of tubulars, pipeline, stuff like that for the American oil industry. I expect their second quarter to crash. First quarter, who knows? But I believe their second quarter is going to crash from the absolute dropout from oil and gas. Tubulars, uh, which can be casing, pipeline, all that, all those manufacturers, anytime soon. Let me see here. STLD is the ticker for US Steel. Their earnings should be coming out any minute now, but I think they're forecasted to 61 cents a share, something of that nature. I think it could be like 40 cents a share if they're being honest about what they've sold and everything else. I don't see it. So let's dive into it, guys. Oil crashed today. The contracts basically show nobody wants the oil, and if you want somebody to take your oil, you're going to have to pay them upwards of 30s, possibly 40s per barrel to take it. This is only going to get worse. An article just came out on Twitter saying this isn't as bad as it looks. This is pretty bad, guys. It was posted American Physical Oil Market via price bulletins and posted prices. West Texas Intermediate negative $41.18. Louisiana Light Sweet plus, it's actually up a little bit, plus 53 cents. Balkan minus 38.63. $38 a barrel for, you got to pay them $38 a barrel to take it right now. Eagleford negative $39.73. Wyoming Sweet is $56.25 negative 56. Oklahoma Sweet is negative $41.25. West Canadian Select is plus $13. Now remember, Canadian just switched over, so that's a little misleading. These contracts can get extremely confusing, extremely fast, so I'm not going to really dive into those too much. It's just contracts expire. So right now, a contract is expiring, and you have a bunch of people holding the contracts of this oil, and everybody's like, we don't want it. So if you give it to us, you're going to have to pay us to take it. So this is bad. But the silver lining, if you got in on tankers, that's good. Tankers are rocking and a rolling. And we need to start looking at who's going to benefit next. As I said, US Steel is supposed to release earnings. I expect their second quarter to be disastrous. Oil and gas, steel supplies should drop tremendously. I'm going to start looking at chemical companies because chemicals are dropping tremendously. And then also the flip side, a lot of companies are going to start picking up again. Cruise ships, there will be winners for low oil. A lot of transportation, but that's down the road. You want to make sure the companies are actually going to survive Corona first. I do not see a lot of oil companies surviving. As I've said, I still like EOG, but not yet. If you already own the OG, okay, but I'm waiting till 25. I'll start buying at 30 and I'll ride it all the way down to wherever it'll go. I think around 25. They've got 2 billion in cash and only 5 billion in debt. So that's uh that's a good place to be. They have their own sand mines, things of that nature if they ever can start drilling again. I don't see anybody drilling this year unless they're contractually obligated to. You're going to see a lot of write downs this year. I think Schlumberger lost 6 or 7 billion on their quarter that just came out. That's a lot of freaking money, but that's just the tip. PUMP, ProPetro, they're down big today. You saw my video on them. Not a fan of them. Um, like I said, when times are booming, they're great, but times ain't booming. They're busted. I don't know how municipal debt works, municipal bonds, things of that nature. Odessa, Midland, Carnes, down in the Eagleford, up in the Balkan. Going to start seeing some trembling going on with those local governments trying to figure out how to pay for everything. Hey, Daniel, could gas stations hold their gasoline, increase the price per gallon? Well, the gas. I don't know how low the gas can actually go, but the one thing about gasoline is you've got guys on every corner of the street going against you. So it's a constant. And I don't. I've got a buddy that owns some gas stations. I need to interview him because that's a great question, Daniel. But from my understanding, the margins on gas is kind of like a hook product to get people in the store, if that makes sense. That's a great question. I will get back to you on that one because I honestly will be talking out my ass if I said too much on it. What's going on, Jay? Yeah, Georgia and South Carolina are going to start opening next week. Should be interesting. This antibody test is like it's lighting a fire under everybody's ass out in California because they had 1,000 confirmed cases, 63 deaths. They started doing this who knows how much, and this all could have been overblown. Nobody likes to talk about death, but let's face it, there's a big difference between 63 deaths and 1,000 cases and 63 deaths and 80,000. That is a massive difference. Like, I believe car wrecks have a higher ratio with, I think, I'd have to look at the numbers, but that's like car wreck level. Like, your risk of dying from corona is the same as car wrecks, especially if you're a younger guy. I caught hell about tweeting that, but it is what it is. If you're young and healthy, the odds of you dying from corona are slim to none compared to driving to Walmart or wherever. But yeah, when they start opening up, it should be interesting. I tweeted earlier, one thing that could kill oil even more is I know Germany basically sent China a bill for $130 billion. There's the off chance that countries start calling China out for covering up the corona and possibly it coming from their lab. If China does not settle it with them, you could see sanctions potentially. And what happens when one of the largest oil consumers is sanctioned and can't, the economy crashes over there? That's a real possibility that can make oil even worse. You already see this flight out of China of manufacturers. Um, I was reading they're discriminating against black people for they think they carry corona or something. That's got to have an effect on people getting pissed off at China. So that's another big deal. Is what's to say China, massive economy, doesn't get sanctioned by all the world, and you have another disaster in oil and gas markets. I don't think we're going to see $40 this year, honestly. Like I can't see it happening outside of war or during hurricane season, all the tankers in the Gulf getting wiped out by a hurricane. That's like the only real way because we've got billions of dollars or billions of barrels of oil in storage right now. Cushing, I'm going to hit it tomorrow. It's going to be really good, but I'm going to talk about Centurion pipeline going into Cushing. I've got a video about Cushing and the various pipelines going into it and the companies involved with it. But if Cushing, check that video out, the Cushing video, because Cushing is expected to fill up. And when it does, there are some major backlash coming. And that is going to be a short like you've never seen before, guys. Sorry, what was the tanker stock again? It's Scorpio Tankers, STNG. I think it's up like 20% today. Woo-hoo! Yeah, 24% today it's up. It's right at about 25 bucks a share. There are other tankers out there, but if you saw my other video, I've talked to some of you on email and message. There's other tankers, but I haven't really studied them, so I don't feel comfortable saying, hey, this is a good one, that's a good one. I just stick with what I've actually looked at. Let's see if you just joined, US was supposed to come out with earnings. I'm kind of curious what they're going to do because they do pipeline stuff like that. So X stock. Well, they have not released earnings yet, guys, so we're still waiting. That should be interesting. Definitely next quarter is going to be rough for them. As I said earlier, if you're just joining, service companies are going down the crapper. Service companies, Schlumberger, Pump, that's ProPetro, Pump is the ticker. Those companies are going to be ravaged over the next 6 months. I don't see Pump making it. They may get bought out or something, but I don't see them making it. They're making moves right now for a quote unquote poison pill. But again, that is, yeah, that's it. STNG. They're making a poison pill for voting or something, but their best scenario would be bought out because they're in trouble. You're welcome. I just wish you had got it last Monday. Last Monday, where was it at? It was a. Yeah, it was a little bit cheaper last Monday. But I'm not complaining. Yeah, it's about 40% since I started talking about it. I'm happy. Happy, happy, happy. Guys, if you can, hit the like button too, please. It helps. Doesn't do anything to your account, just hits a like and makes other people want to look at it. You guys got any questions for me? Feel free to ask on here or email me. I'm on Twitter at Joshua Pollard. You can message me on there. I have it set up where you can send a message even if I'm not following you. Some of them are follow or don't follow, but I get messages from non-followers too, so I can see what you're doing. You too, Jay. Have a good one. Yeah, diesel is interesting because they say that, but you look at Caterpillar, you look at all these industrial stuff, and it's all down. So this idea that diesel isn't affected by this is insane. You think of all the diesel run ships that aren't moving product. 18 wheelers are moving crazy, but it's still, you still have a loss, I would think. But jet fuel is definitely down. I do believe in the next coming weeks, I want to start looking at airliners because if you remember, Southwest locked in a bunch of hedges, and man, they cleaned up a few years back. but I look for them to do that again as a help for high fuel. But airliners are definitely going to benefit once they get out of the woods if our economy is okay. Incapped at Incapped on Twitter also is kind of bullish long term on gas. I'm starting to think the same thing. Uh, I think gas will start coming offline also. Any other questions, guys? Canadian oil industry is a strong industry, but there's a weird deal between like their federal government and their province government, state government, and there's a lot of liberal ideology that blocks them from doing anything. So they have it's almost, if I describe, it's like drilling oil wells in California. You have a lot of red tape to go through. There's a lot of oil up there. Alberta Garbage on Twitter, you know, he's up there. He's an engineer up there, and they've got really really good looking prospects, but it's just so hard to drill. I think they have issues with pipelines and all kinds of stuff. But I think honestly, everybody's in trouble right now. It really don't matter. Saudis are looking to ramp up capacity to 13 million barrels. Right now, they're about 12.2. So make no mistake, they're looking to take over for what will be lost in the American oil production industry. Um, their exports to the U.S. are up dramatically as well. We've got to have their lower grade oils for um, blending as well at the refiners. Refiners are in trouble. I mean, everybody's in trouble, really. But the main key today that I wanted to get across is Cushing is going to be full pretty soon. Check out my video on Cushing. Um, and there are a lot of players in the Permian, Kansas, Oklahoma, the Balkan. There's a lot of players that send their oil to Cushing, and when it fills up, it's it's going to be interesting because then the companies, and we're going to do another video showing who can shut in wells and who can't, depending on the reservoir. You can't just shut in a well or shut down a well because it'll damage the oil well, and then the oil well won't produce anymore. And there's a lot of companies that could be forced to shut in wells like that that could kill their wells. So even if they've got 1 million barrels in the ground for that well, it'd kill it, and that could be bad news for them. So be going over that. It's going to be a busy week, guys. I really appreciate y'all checking out my channel. Like it, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff, because it's been great being able to answer questions, talk to people. It's been a lot of fun for me. You're welcome very much. That's right, Ben. In the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we fought wars to find and secure oil supplies. In the 2000s and 2020, I guess it's the roaring 20s now, I guess. In the 2020s, we were fighting to find buyers of oil. Yep. One thing I tweeted about, if you go back to pre 9/11, OPEC was kind of in charge of everything, and everything was just kind of balanced out. And then you had 9/11, of course, and then Iraq, and it destabilized the Middle East, and with it, OPEC. And that's when you started getting the shoot up of oil and all that. And I think we really could be going back into I know we're going back into a time where OPEC controls it, and you're going to see a lot lower oil prices than you want. And I think Saudis and Russians especially don't want it getting above that magic number of 45-ish to 50 for shale and deep water. Deep water is another big threat to oil. Like OPEC and Saudis, deep water is definitely a threat to them. Canadian oil sands, all the threats to them, they want to crush, and the way you crush them is keep it under 45. I think there's no chance in hell we see 50 unless there's a war or a hurricane takes out all the oil tankers parked in the Gulf. That's like the only way we're going to get crazy high numbers. Tankers store everything. I mean, and the money to be made by tankers will be uh, the storing fee. Pipelines call them tariffs. There's different names for them, but the storing fee is how they're going to make their money. And like the prices today, where it went negative, when the tankers are calling guys tomorrow for storage, they're going to be like, hey, by the way, our prices are going up. Like they have the best business model going forward right now. Tankers, like they're kicking themselves in the ass for not having more tanker ships because they have the perfect business model currently, and that is storing oil. So that's last couple weeks I've really been pushing STNG Scorpio tankers. That's why I've been pushing them because it's the ideal stock to own right now. In 2014, 15, you saw this hint where refiners just had the perfect edge, and that was a great time to have refiner stocks because they were getting such a big discount. Well, this time around, there's such an oversupply. Now tankers are in that exact scenario, and I think it will last at least a month or two. Um, by all means, don't get hung out to dry. So if you make a lot of money, make sure and take some profits, and then play with the house's money. But tankers are great to own. I've had a couple guys who got in a week ago. I think they love me right now. If I drank, they'd probably send me a 6-pack, but that's here nor there. Yeah, the dollar is strong. Um, dollar is very strong. It is interesting because the the dollar, the petrodollar, oil is based on the American dollar, and oil is just getting crushed right now. Whenever there's this kind of contraction, everybody floods to the American dollar because it's safest. It's not safe, 100% safe, but it's the safest. So that definitely has some work on it too. Great point, Ben. Actually, you get paid to take. Man, I tell you, oh, I was joking today on Twitter. It's like all these dairy farmers that are going broke. They need to start filling all these big old milk silo looking things with oil. I'm telling you, man. I don't know if they can do that or not, but shit, I'd be packing them full of freaking oil right now. That disclaimer, that's a joke. I don't know what kind of environmental issues you could run into, state regulate, like it's a joke, but I mean, uh, if you got all these liquid storage containers that can hold thousands of barrels, hell, fill them puppies up. You guys got any more questions for me? Now that's an interesting stat. I didn't know that. Ben said over 50% of American daily production of milk goes to Mexico. Wow, I never knew that. Well, you learn something every day. That's a crazy stat. I didn't. Why would they be? I didn't think they'd like milk as much though for an export terminal for Asia. I don't know if that's still. I think that'd be the play right now. Um, hell, Mexico could go to OPEC and say, "Hey, fund this deal and we'll cut oil for you. Finance the deal, we'll cut oil. Because when you look at the cut, it helps the price. I mean, it's probably worth it to OPEC to get Mexico to come on board with a 500,000 barrel cut a day. And if Mexico gets paid on it, then hell, that's even better. But that's a lot of natural gas. 6 billion cubic feet. A lot of natural gas. I don't know if it's true, but an MCF is roughly the size and volume. It's not condensed, but it's like the size of a U-Haul truck. That's how much gas that is, supposedly. So 6 BCF would be like, was that like 6 million? No, it would be 6 million U-Haul trucks if it wasn't condensed. That's a lot. Any other questions, guys? It's been a wild day. It's going to be a wild week. I appreciate your participation. My email's all over the place if you have any questions. But all right, guys, going to go on and shut it down. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.